Please join me in an opening affirmative prayer. God is all there is. God is beauty. And God is expressing as beauty on this wonderful, beautiful, lovely, glorious Sunday morning. And I know that this service, also an idea in the mind of God, is equally beautiful, equally lovely, equally inspiring as the environment, even with the motorcycles, is this morning. And we open our hearts, we open our minds to receiving the beauty of God, along with all the other gifts of God. The gifts of peace, the gifts of joy, the gifts of light, illumination, the gift of, especially the gift of love. And we know that all these gifts form the foundation on which this Sunday morning service is being built even as we speak. And because we are open and receptive to these gifts, the Sunday morning service is already a success. I know this, I believe this, and I release my words into the law of mind which makes it so. And so it is. So it is. And the music continues with our chant, which is Within Words and Music. Steve Golding. Together.
Spirit expressed, I find its meager God, and make manifest.
So nice, we do it right.
Within the Lord, for there you dwell, in my heart of hearts, where all is well. That His Spirit expressed, I find His meager God, and make manifest. In the Lord, for there you dwell, in my heart of hearts, where all is well. Joy that His Spirit expressed, I find its meager God, and make manifest.
Beautiful singing to a beautiful chant. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Words and music. And we now have what I'm sure will be equally beautiful words in the form of the inspirational reading. And we ask Kaylee Del Valle to come forward to join us on the podium to give us the inspirational reading.
Good morning, Temple of Light family.
Good morning, Kaylee.
The inspirational reading for today comes from God, the Consciousness of the Individual, excerpted from A Parenthesis in Eternity by Joel Goldsmith. Many persons think that they understand the mystery of life, because they trace the growth and development of themselves and their children from a tiny seed at the time of conception to birth, and then from birth to full maturity. But that is not the mystery of life. That is the effect of the mystery of life. The mystery lies in what produced the seed and in what brought the seed into expression. No matter how scientists may theorize as to the origin of life, eventually they arrive at a point that defies explanation, because beyond the appearance of everything visible is an infinitude, a something that we call the consciousness of life. And this infinity is expressing itself as all form, as the world and everything in it, and so it is.
Amen. So it is.
I will now be lighting the youth candle.
It's a rather damp morning. Maybe the matches are damp.
That's right.
A dry one was found, fortunately.
I guess this much does not happen.
It's Uncle John and I.
All right. Please join me in the blessing of our children. We light this candle on behalf of all the youth of the world. Let us behold the Christ in them.
We love
Love
you.
you. We appreciate you. We salute the Christ in you, and we see you as shining lights onto your world. God is blessing you now, and so it is.
The mission song.
Will we now have the temple mission song?
Wonderful.
Temple of light, the temple of light, the temple of light. We are a people with a vision, on a spirit, on a mission, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us, anytime, night or day. The temple of light, the temple of light, the temple of light. We are a people with a vision, one spirit, on a mission, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, to love and liberate anyone who comes into contact with us, anytime, night or day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Thank you. And that was our mission song. And now we're going to have another song. This is the praise song. He's got the whole world in his hand. It's in your program and on screen.
He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got you and me, brother, in his hand. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole
keep standing as we do our prayer of our center. It's found on screen as well as on a flyer in your program. The prayer of our center. Together? The Temple of Light, Center for Spiritual Living, is a sacred field embodying our spiritual community, from which the Christ's peace, love, and joy emanate, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, and to liberate anyone who comes into contact with it in any way. The light of the Christ illumines us, our center, and our environment. Our spiritual community is filled with and surrounded by the presence of God, and is growing from strength to strength. The power of God expands our consciousness of truth, guiding us ceaselessly along the paths of wisdom, spiritual growth, unfoldment, and attainment. We are blessed, and to God be the honor and the glory forever. And so it is. Thank you. Please sit. As you prepare to listen to the announcements for Sunday, June 5, in the year of our Lord, 2022. Our flowers this week reflect the creativity of spirit expressed through Mrs. Connie Nugent, using flowers donated by loving members of our community. Wow. Thank you, Connie, and our flower angels. They really are beautiful. I'm just noticing. Beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous, lovely, lovely. Do we have any first-time guests worshiping with us in person this morning? Please stand if you are in the sanctuary so that our usher can place a sticker over your heart. And if you are a first-time visitor online, we welcome you also to our hearts. We behold the Christ in you. We trust you will come again and again, online or in person, to share your radiant consciousnesses with us. Is there, in fact, any newcomer in the sanctuary? I'd love to see him or her raise a hand or stand. No? We're all family. Live streaming. We continue to live stream every Sunday at 9 a.m. and also on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. The recording of the sessions are also available later on YouTube. On Monday mornings, on Wednesday mornings, and on Friday mornings, we all have the opportunity, the pleasure of sharing quiet moments in the garden with Reverend John, our spiritual leader. Join him at 6 a.m. those days, Eastern Standard Time, for a refreshing and insightful early morning start to your day. I'm noticing that those early morning sessions are getting more popular. The brighter it is at 6 o'clock. It's now quite bright at 6. A couple of months ago it was not. Spiritual enrichment service on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock. This may be accessed on Facebook and Zoom platforms. This week, our presenter is Reverend John himself, and the link will be sent out from our mailing list. So Tuesday, 6 o'clock, for our spiritual enrichment service with Reverend John. Once every few months, we have Reverend John at 6 o'clock as well. Prayer Power, an hour of communion on Thursday evenings at 6, comes to you again via Zoom. The link is sent out Thursday mornings again from our mailing list. Usually twice a week, twice a month we have wisdom circles, but this Sunday, after this service, there will be no wisdom circle. Sorry, Angela, but it's for a good cause, as you know. There will be instead a meeting of the board and the strategic plan action group immediately with our congregation. So please stay back. It's a very, very important discussion that we're going to have starting at 10:30 or so, right after the service. Please stay back. You'll be meeting with the board and the strategic plan action group. At this stage, I'd like to call on Sandy Cooper, who is going to tell us about an event for next Sunday.
Good morning, friends.
Morning, Sandy.
I'm not wearing my high heel shoes this morning. Thanks.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this week we're having this meeting with our strategic planning action group and the board. Now next week, it's an equally important activity. As you know, sadly, our pastor, Rev John, is going to be retiring at the end of November. And as painful as it is for us to see him go, we have to put our time, effort, and attention in creating the space for a new pastor. And so there are certain regulations stipulated by CSL. And we are now in the process of putting together data with regards to the type of environment that we are inviting a minister to come into. The church, what is available here, the community, the country. But most important, we're not just going to get up and take any pastor willy-nilly so. We want you to be able to tell us, who do you want? What type of person? What qualities? What characteristics? What do we want him to be able to do? Now, I know I want him to be able to play piano and sing. I beg your pardon. You see how we sexist? Whoever it is we want, I know I want to have somebody who is all-rounded. And what we want, therefore, is to have you join us next week, Sunday at 10:30. So this is 2 Sundays in a row that we're bubbling, trying to really, really ensure that you are all on board with us. We want you to, during the next week, to think about who would you like to see as our pastor? What kind of characteristics and personal qualities should he or she have? And come prepared next week, Sunday at 10:30 to share your ideas. I will be facilitating a process. It will be very, very brief. We'll meet at 10:30 and it shouldn't go longer than about an hour. So we do invite you to make the effort, write it in your calendars. We will be communicating more with you next via social media, by Facebook and email, to remind you next week Sunday, come to church and stay behind afterwards for our minister selection envisioning activity. Okay, look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Sandy said that it was a sad event, but I noticed that Reverend John walks with a little bit more bounce in his step, and there's a sort of perpetual smile on his face, as if he's looking forward to retirement. I'm not quite sure why. We will hear maybe further why he's so happy. But there's a bit of sadness as well. I know that for all. And here's another sad announcement that I have for you. Longtime member Mrs. Monica Marsh has moved on peacefully to her next experience of life, more abundant. We'll be celebrating her life on Wednesday, June 22, here at the temple in a service beginning at 10:30 a.m. So that's Monica Marsh's celebration of life, Wednesday, June 22, here at the temple, 10:30 a.m. Prayer support. We continue to respond to all your requests for prayer. A practitioner is available to pray with you immediately following our service every Sunday. On duty this Sunday is Reverend Sonia Davidson, and the number to call is 876-289-0907. And if you'd like to speak to a minister, you may call that same number, 876-289-0907, Mondays to Friday from 8 in the morning till 12 midnight, if you wish to speak to a minister. Donations, tithes, and offerings. To financially support our ministry, kindly visit our donate page at donate.templeoflightcsl.org, which has our banking details. Thank you for your generosity and for helping us to be that proverbial beacon of light to the world. And this now concludes our announcements. And we will now have the singing of our first hymn, O Thou Who Made the Beauty. Please stand.
Sky and sea, the bloom of wayside flower, the mountain's majesty, the splendor of the sunset, the peace of early morn. We lift our hearts to thank thee as each new day is born. Oh, love that conquered hatred, that overcame the strife. Oh, source of health and power, our truth, our way, our life. Transcend our weak endeavors, fill us with love divine, that body, mind, and spirit may be forever thine. O life that never faileth, thy pathways are choice. Above the human challenge, how powerful thy voice. We know no limitation, in spirit we are free. Thy love dissolves all bondage and brings us liberty.
Thank you, folks. Please sit, settle back, and prepare to hear our encouragement for this morning. And I asked Reverend John, who is going to be our speaker, what the theme of his talk was. And it seems that it's going to be about a medical procedure. Because if I'm reading correctly, it's Botox for sagging, no, not faces, Botox for sagging spirits. I look forward to that talk from Dr. Reverend John Scott. Over to you, sir.
Yes. Good morning, family.
Good morning, Reverend John.
I was smiling when Sandy said sadly because I thought, well, then I must need some spiritual Botox for sagging spirits. And so my encouragement is titled, Practicing the Presence, Spiritual Botox for Sagging Spirits. And welcome to those who are joining us online, those in the sanctuary, and those who will watch the recording later. I hope that this, I don't only hope, I know that this encouragement will raise you up in consciousness to a greater understanding of the glory and greatness of that which proclaims its life, its love, its beauty, its truth, its order, and its joy through you, its beloved creation. Now, many of you know that I have recently changed residences, and I downsized, which means that one has to shrink 50 or 60 years of accumulated stuff housed in a 3 or 4 bedroom townhouse into a 2-bedroom apartment. It's quite a liberating and interesting and heart-rending exercise. And I did it with great joy because I know that my feet are kept on the perfect path by that presence and power which walks through eternity with me. But in the middle of, you know, do I keep this, do I toss it? I haven't seen this for 10 or 15 years. It's got to go. I got a WhatsApp call from a very good friend who lives abroad, and he looked quite wonderful on the video, you know. And he said, notice anything different? And I said, no, but you look very well. He said, my friend, I've had some work done. I said, well, I'm doing some work too. He said, oh, really? The same thing, Botox? I said, no. I am downsizing. He said, well, I am lifting my spirits, and in lifting my spirits, I'm also lifting my face. You must have some done, my dear boy. All the fine lines around my mouth and the crow's feet of my eyes have disappeared. And then he said the reason he was calling was he wanted my advice about coming home to Jamaica when he retires. And I thought to myself, well, sounds like you not only need to come home, but you need to also have some spiritual Botox. And if you come home, then come to the Temple of Light, because we have the answer, you know, and it's more than just a weekly injection. It's a way of life that we teach people of how to lift your spirits, to lift your recognition of the truth of your being. So my friend, anybody here this morning or who is listening online or who will listen later, if you feel like you could use a faith lift, a revitalization and a strengthening of your belief, this is an open invitation from our hearts to you to join us on a regular basis at the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living. You know, the agonized cry of the father of the epileptic boy in Mark 9, verse 24, quote, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. What a cry. Have you ever felt that in your heart? You know, I believe. A lot of us, we really believe. And sometimes we believe that other people have more of it than we do. So we pray and we learn to do spiritual mind treatment, which is the scientific prayer that we use in this teaching. We learn the steps of treatment and we use them, believing that this really works. But then something says, you know, you better ask so-and-so to pray for you because they have a stronger consciousness. So notice you believe, but you also believe that other people are ahead of you, or have a deeper understanding, or a closer walk, a closer connection with the living Spirit Almighty, not Nagosa. All of us have equal access to the omnipotence, to the omniscience, and to the omnipresence that created us out of itself in the image and likeness of its eternity and said, I love you and I will never leave you. So friends, we believe in the power of belief, but find it difficult to believe in our own power. We believe in the power of belief, but find it difficult to hold and to grasp and to stand up and proclaim, I am part of that unstoppable power that created all things out of itself. And me and God run things. Things no run we. So my friends, I guess I want to share with you this morning that this spiritual Botox, this understanding of your own divinity and your own greatness and the power that is at your disposal will really lift your spirits. It will eradicate those fine lines that are showing up in your relationships. It will remove the frown lines from between your eyebrows that make every little thing annoy you and get to you. It will make the crooked places straight and the rough places plain. Not just on your face, but on the face of your life's experience. The beautiful Jesus himself gave us the answer when he said, when you pray, believe you receive, and you shall receive, unquote. Interestingly, you know, the Greek word for receive is in the past tense. So we should really be saying, or it should really be translated as, believe you received. It's in the past tense. So that when you pray, the gift has already been given. And all of us know people who seem to possess this faith. And we look at them and we say, boy, I wish I had some of that. And I often say to friends, you know, I don't know how many times God has to hold you down and gag you to prove to you how wonderful God is in your life. And I have to tell you a little personal story, you know, on this move from my old residence, my former residence, to my new wonderful garden apartment. As part of my exercise of letting go, I sat down with a new journal, since it was a new move, given to me by my lifelong friend and life coach, Marguerite Rain. And I said, what are you going to miss about Devon Square? And as I said so, I heard the woodpecker on the light post. The old, you remember those old wooden light posts? There's one outside my Devon Square home. And every morning there's a rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat of a woody, a beautiful woodpecker. And I said, I'm going to miss the rat-a-tat-tat of Woody the woodpecker. Now, friends, as I stand here speaking to you this morning, on my first morning in my new apartment, on a tree outside my front door, I heard the rat-a-tat-tat of a woodpecker. I thought, wow, God, you are truly amazing in my life. The other thing that I wrote in my journal that I was going to miss was the sound of falling water, because in my garden I have a fish pond, and there's a sound of water. If you listen to quiet moments in the garden, you would hear it as background during my broadcast. And my first quiet moment in my new garden, my next door neighbor has a tiny fountain. And at 6 o'clock on the dot, she put it on, and there was the sound of falling water. How often does God have to say, let go now and just trust me? You say you believe. Well, believe. And act as though you believe. Isn't that just amazing? That I have the sound of running water where I live. I'm going to arrange a bigger pond, but that'll come. But in the meantime, I still have the reassurance that life is flowing for me wherever I move and whatever I am doing. Walter Stark, author of a book titled It's All God, contends, my friends, that faith is not something one has, it is something one does. It is not a noun, it's a verb. So, he says that faith has to be an act of conviction to be legitimately called faith. Quote, thinking is static, but faith is active. Those who believe they have faith but do not do the things they have faith in fail because there is no such thing as having faith in anything. He explains that things are results. Having faith in something, even in a religion, he says, is putting faith in results rather than in the cause. That's an interesting thought, eh? We need to look at the cause, the first cause, which is God. So to have the faith of God, we go to first cause. As students of science of mind, we have all been exposed to the teaching that our thoughts and our faith does create our experience. And we actually create our experience by having faith and then living from that faith. Well, we all have faith in many, many things. But do we have faith in the first cause? You know, some of us even have faith in negatives. I think I have shared with you the story before of this woman that I know who told me that every woman in her family had breast cancer, and she was just waiting to hear when hers would show up. That's deep faith, eh? And I said to her, I was just beginning to study to be a practitioner, and I said to her, what do you really want? And she said, I want to know God. I want to know God. And you know, they call me, if some friends call me Irreverend John, because I said to her, you don't have to go across there to know him enough. You don't have to make the transition to know God, because you can know God right here in the flesh. And I gave her affirmation to say, in my flesh, I see God. Let us say that together. Today in my flesh, I see God. Together. Today in my flesh, I see God. In a half voice. Today in my flesh, I see God. In a whisper. Today in my flesh, I see God. Say it in your heart and feel it. I see God. And I know God, my friends. My dear friend Howard Daly, many of you remember him, the late Howard Daly, who was one of our musicians. As I held his hand shortly before his transition, and my eyes were brimming with tears, he said, John, don't grieve, don't cry. I know God. Wow. What a powerful statement to make. I know God. And you know, friends, you may say, is it possible? Is it really possible to know God? Although the scripture tells us, be still and know that I am God. Or sometimes I say, be still and know that I am God. And to the Middle Easterner and the Near Easterner, Rocha Errico, the Aramaic scholar who studied the language that Jesus spoke, said that knowing to the Near Easterner was more than just intellectual knowledge. Knowing had to do with experiencing something. And remember, Genesis tells us that Adam knew Eve. So knowing also had a connotation of intimacy, which for me means intimacy. So when I say I know you, or you say you know me, what you are saying is I see into you. I see the beauty. I see the life. I see the authenticity. I see the joy. I see it and I feel it because I know you. So knowing God really has to do with having an intimate relationship with the source of your being. Wow. can we begin to practice knowing God so that in our flesh, in our deepest part of our being, we have this firm assurance that the omnipotence, the power that is in all, through all, over all, and all in all is right where we are within us? Can we be assured that the omniscience, the wisdom that has the answer for every single question that we have about life, that omniscience also dwells within us, and that the omnipresence of the infinite invisible walks through life with each and every one of us saying, be still and know that I am God. What an assurance to have. What an affirmation to walk with, my friends. The certainty that divine mind is the vital energy that sustains your spirit, soul, and body. Let us say that together. Divine mind is the energy that sustains my spirit, soul, and body. Can we say that? Divine mind is the energy that sustains my spirit, soul, and body. Writer Paul R. Van Gordon tells a lovely story of a passenger ship caught in a violent storm while sailing from England to New York. The ship tossed and rolled violently so that it awakened everybody on board, including the captain's 8-year-old daughter. And so she jumped out of her sleep and said to her mom, the frightened child said, "What's the matter? What's up?" And her mother explained about the storm. And the child said, "Is Daddy on the bridge?" And the mother assured her that he was. And the little girl pulled the covers back up over her head, snuggled down, and went back fast asleep. Because, you see, she knew, she was sure, she had the faith that the father, her father, was at the helm of the ship, and therefore there was nothing to fear. So, my friends, this morning, no matter how stormy your life may seem, no matter how stormy the world about us and the reports of all kinds of happenings in the world just leave us saying, where can we run? Where can we go? God, I need something to raise me up. I need something to lift my spirits. I need a faith lift. Let us remember that we have at our disposal the power that runs things. We have at our disposal the omniscience that knows everything. And we have with us on this journey, my friend Susan Goff used to always say, God is the journey and God is the destination. And so on this journey, we have the omnipresence. We can never be separated from it. So just stop and let that sense of Godness in your life just sink deep into your DNA. There is nothing, my friends, but God. And when you have the faith of God, then you know that with the Master, you too can say, as he did to the storm, peace, be still. Say it to the storms of your life. Say it to the wars that are happening all over the world. Say it to the families of little children cut down in their youth. Say it to people who have forgotten the truth of who and whose they are. God can raise you up. And God will raise you up if you will but have the faith of a little child who knows that her father is at the helm of the ship. And so this brings me to your assignment, your mission, should you decide to undertake it. And it is to keep your awareness this week of the indwelling presence alive, to practice the presence. Not just once a week when you join us on a Sunday or on a Tuesday evening or at a Thursday prayer power or at a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday quiet moment in the garden, but every moment of every day, remind yourself that God is there with you. Recognize it, see it in the blush of a ripening mango and the taste of its sweetness, hear it in the laughter of children and the cry of newborn babies, see it in the faces of people passing you on the street. Just look for God everywhere. Practice the presence that is with you in your life and in your affairs, and be especially mindful of that presence in the people around you. You know, I say every Tuesday when I go to Tower Street to the prison, it is my practice period to look into the faces of men who have forgotten or who have never been told the truth of their divine origin and say, this is my brother. And they would say, what happened, Godfather? And I'll say, all is well, Godson. Because that is the truth. And many of them are kind of startled when you say to them, you know, you are God's son. Me? Say you. Because you are not what you have done. You are not the mistakes that have been made. You are God's son. And this is something that we need to practice. Ladies, if you don't like lizards, try seeing God in the little thick creature catching flies and mosquitoes on the wall. Yeah, and I hear people saying, oh, tall order. Remind yourself that the intelligence that is used by every single created thing is right where you are. And that when you deal with people, no matter whether they are doing what you don't admire, or they don't look like how you think they should look, or don't behave like how you think they should behave, it is God's son or God's daughter looking for that closer walk, looking for that connection, which is the yearning at the center of every living human being's heart. It is what we have come. I want to just end by sharing an essay by 8-year-old Danny Dutton from Chula Vista, California, who proved that he certainly knew God. It was a 3rd grade homework assignment to explain God, and this is what Danny Dutton wrote. Quote, one of God's main jobs is making people. He makes them to replace the ones that die, so there will be enough people to take care of things on earth.
I love it.
He doesn't make grown-ups, just babies. I think because they are smaller and easier to make. That way, he doesn't have to take up his valuable time teaching them to talk and walk. He can just leave that up to mothers and fathers, and I would like to say grandmothers and grandfathers. God's second most important job, said Danny, is listening to prayers. An awful lot of this goes on, since people, like preachers and things, pray all the time, not just on Sundays. God doesn't have time to listen to the radio or TV because of this. And because he hears everything, there must be a terrible lot of noise in his ears, unless he has thought of a way to turn it off. God sees everything and hears everything and is everywhere, which keeps him pretty busy. So you shouldn't go wasting his time by going over your mom and dad's head and asking for something they've already said, no, you can't have. And I love this. Atheists are people who don't believe in God. But I don't think any of them are in Chula Vista, or at least there aren't any in this church. To that, Danny, I say amen. Gosh, if we could just have the faith that children evidence, eh? The certain knowing, you know, there's no question in their minds when they want something, it must be provided because they want it. Ernest Holmes, who gave the world this great teaching called The Science of Mind, said, and I quote, a realization of the presence of God is the secret power of our work. The realization of the presence of God is the secret power of our work. And this, my friends, is the spiritual Botox. This is that which will smooth out the lines, those carved deep in our faces by grief and worry, blame, shame, and regret, and the fine lines that threaten to mar the world that we live in, and that if we don't take care of, will soon become deep chasms which really mar the existence of the good life, the life more abundant that we were meant to live. And so, as the psalmist expresses it, just know that that presence and power that is in all and through all and over all can never be separated from you, and you can never be separated from it. As he said, and I quote, "Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me." I love the image of the right hand just anchoring me in the peace and the certain assurance that God is at hand. If I say, "Surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me." Yea, said the psalmist, "the darkness and the light are both alike to thee." Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the night and the light are both alike to thee. So friends, make practicing the presence your spiritual Botox. And as our beloved founding minister used to say, this ends the lesson, and now begins the practice. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. Botox for sagging spirits, not faces. Botox for sagging. And in the talk, Reverend John reminded us that he's talking about a faith lift, not a face lift. There wasn't a lisp tongue there. It's faith, not face. The encouragement reminded us that we all have access to God. It reminds us that you are divine, that you have the power of God within. And then there's Jesus' reminder of the simple way of getting our prayers answered. When you pray, believe that you already have received the gift. In the past tense, you have already received it. And that will cause you to receive it in the future. You remember, of course, that there's no time with God. So you believe that you have already received it because it is the Father's good, power to pleasure, there the P, to give you the kingdom. And we were reminded that faith creates our experiences. So the question is, what do you have faith in? Do you have faith in something positive? Do you have faith in something good? Or something negative? Because whatever you have faith in will be your experience. But the question that I have for Reverend John is, do you think it is the same woodpecker that was with you at Devon Square that has followed you? Right. So those were very briefly a summary of Reverend John's encouragement, and we are now going to ask him to come back to the lectern, because you'll remember that today is the first Sunday of the month, and today is the day that you get birthday blessings from Reverend John. So all those who have birthdays in June, please stand.
Consciousness, we bless those who celebrate a birthday in the month of June, knowing that the omnipresence of God walks through their new year with them. The omniscience of God informs their every decision, their every act, and the omnipotence of God gives the power at the center of their beings to accomplish everything their hearts desire. And so I know for those celebrating a birthday in June, that from the center of their being to the circumference of their conscious awareness, they live, move, and manifest life in a victorious state of fulfillment to the honor and glory of God. I know this to be the truth, and I'm so grateful that they walk the spiritual path with us at the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living. A blessing to their fellow man and fellow woman, and a joy to their God. And my heart sings a song of praise and a psalm of thanksgiving that their very lives raise us up in consciousness to a greater awareness of the glory and greatness of that which is in all, through all, over all in all, as all. It is God and it is good. And we give thanks that this is so, and so it is. Happy birthday, all.
And now, thank you, Reverend John, for that birthday prayer. And now we're going to hear from Trudie Francis, who will render our musical item.
Thank you. Good morning, Temple of Light family. Good morning, good morning. And thank you, Rev, for that wonderful message. I'm working on my faith lift as well. I'll be doing an item for you this morning, and I hope you'll be blessed by it.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdens me, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to all that I can be. There is no life without eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to all that I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to all that I can be. You raise me up to all that I can be.
Just exhale. You know, at my ordination, the children sang that for me. And every time I hear it, it takes me right back to that point when I said, what am I doing here? And then I remember, it's not I, but the Father within doing the work. Thank you. Please stand and let us say the prayer of Jamaica in that consciousness of being raised up. It's on a flyer in your program and on the screen. The radiant light of God's love is now flowing through us and from us to everything and everyone it touches. The eternal light of God's love now completely fills, covers, and surrounds our island, Jamaica. The glowing intensity of the light of God's love now penetrates and awakens within the hearts and minds of our countrymen and women the truth of life which set free. The light of God's love is growing and glowing in intensity in the hearts and minds of mankind everywhere. Love, health, harmony, goodwill, peace, uprightness, integrity, joy, prosperity, kindness, and our oneness under God are now established. And so it is. And just remain standing for our wonderful song, I See Trees of Green.
Roses too, I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night,
and I think to myself,
colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you.
I hear babies
Cry, I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. And oh, yeah, let's take our love offerings in our hands. And if you're at home and about to press the donate button, please put your hand on your heart and say with us, lovingly I give, joyfully I receive. Be thou fruitful, increase and multiply. Bless, prosper, and enrich everyone whom you touch, and replenish all of my financial affairs. So be it. Thank you, Father. And so it is. In this consciousness, we bless the gifts of time, of talent, of music, of money substance, of consciousness that have blessed our service this morning and that go out from this center to fill the entire cosmos as the waters fill the sea. We bless each other and remember to practice the presence in everything and everyone we encounter this week to the honor and glory of God. We are so grateful that this is already so. And so it is. And let us do the peace song, singing peace.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, family all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take,
Yes, this is my joyous vow, my vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Friends, I'll see you in the morning at 6 in the garden, and on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. for our spiritual mind healing service, and on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, because God is actually always in operation as the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living. Join us and let us lift the consciousness of humanity to the magnificence that always has been the truth of the human experience. Thank you for being with us. God loves you, and so do we. Namaste.